Surcheros. It is a Tex-Mex restaurant. One of my favorite foods is the burrito bowl, and we are going to be eating the chips with a concoction. It mainly consists of ground beef, corn salsa, tomatoes, chopped onions, lettuce, yeah, just a bunch of good stuff. So, like and subscribe. Let's get started. I gotta pop the top on this thing. Wow. Okay. That's the name. So, they do catering. There's no way I could do that without spilling it. I taste some cilantro in there. So, Surcheros is kind of like, I don't know if they have Chipotle in your area, but that's kind of what it is. I actually worked at a Chipotle when I was about 19. The location wasn't even finished being built yet, but they came in and hired a team beforehand. And so we were trained and memorized the menu, what ingredients went with what. So when it finally was finished, the grand opening, we were good to go. Now I only stayed there for about, I don't know, 4 or 5 months. That was before I became assistant manager at the Walgreens. That was about 2 blocks away. And that was really my first introduction into retail and grocery, stuff like that. Oh, I broke my tube. But yeah, I worked at Walgreens for about 4 or 5 years. When I was hired, my best friend Brad, if you didn't watch my previous video, I was talking about friendships. He was my best friend since middle school. But his older sister worked there in the photo department. So naturally, I begged her to ask the store manager if I could at least get the application. So I ended up getting hired. I think I was hired at $10.50. And like I said, this is back when I was 1920, so my God, 11 years ago. Let's just say it was good money for me at the time. So yeah, I started off as, like a cashier, and I helped stock and stuff when people called out, or if they needed some extra hands, and it was a slow day. I'm sorry. I know I said that I was hired as assistant manager at Walgreens. What I meant to say is I worked my way up to it. But when I first started, the interview that I had was with the general manager and the store manager. The general manager asked me if I had any managerial experience. I guess just based on how the interview was going. It's also raining outside. I hope that you can hear it. But I told him that I didn't, but I was willing to learn, and I was aspiring to be a manager. So he said that he would keep his eye on me. And then through the ranks from cashier, then it was stalker, then it was, I went to the photo department, and that was really intimidating at first, because as a cashier you can look over and just see the whole process of them developing pictures. And it was a really cool experience though. If anything, I could credit that to my growing interest in cameras and stuff. So anyway, after photo department, that's where the real money started coming in. One of the other assistant managers was under investigation, so needless to say, he was transferred. The store manager didn't play games. I want to say his last name was Steinberg. Yeah. So he had asked me one night, it was after the holiday season, and he was like, you remember that conversation that we had with the GM way back? And I was like, yes, sir. And he said, well, I just got off the phone with him, and today's your lucky day, sir. And I looked at him, and I was like, you're playing, because this guy always used to love to play pranks. He was probably one of my cooler bosses. But anyway, he gave me the opportunity. I wasn't salary, which was surprising, and I'm actually glad that I wasn't, because, man, if you're salary, you're basically a slave to that job. You gotta stay, go in whenever, stay till whenever. It's crazy. Drink some of this water. Oh, I know you can hear that, right? I keep hitting the corner of this chip thing. It's so bloody big. But yeah, so anyway, that was a real experience. Every so often I would go off to a different city and attend a class. There would always be other people around, being trained for the same thing, just at different locations. When I was all said and done, I was taken home at about 22. I'd say about 5,500 every 2 weeks. Listen, despite what they say, Walgreens is banking, and they take care of their employees. I hit it again, but that money wasn't just straight from my paycheck. There were bonuses included. Then eventually I was transferred to a different one because they needed some serious guidance. And I actually preferred that one because it was right on the beach. Like, you could walk out the entrance or the exit to Walgreens, turn right, go down the road. There's like a little stop sign, and it's right over the pier. When you pulled up in the morning to go to work, you could smell the salt water in the air. It was fantastic. Oh, I love this food. But Walgreens was one of my better jobs in my life. But honestly, I've done all types. When I was 15, I've said before, I was a dishwasher and busboy at a small, like, hole-in-the-wall restaurant. And my stepmom used to waitress there. So we would go in and leave at the same time. After school, I would go in on Fridays and weekends. It was like this, it wasn't exclusively seafood, but it had a lot of that on their menu, like, you know, fried shrimp and, you know, flounder, whatever. But they had steak, so I guess maybe surf and turf. The place was called Izzy's, and I keep hitting this bloody bowl. I swear. So I was 15. I wasn't making too much money, you know. Sometimes they would give me a share of their tips on really busy days because I was hustling and bustling, you know. So I guess you could say I haven't really shied away from being a hard worker. You know, since I was a kid, I've just been trying to get it. Trying to get that money, honey. But yeah, that was my first ever job. Then I worked at a Wendy's. That was around the same area as the Chipotle and Walgreens. I was hired there at 16. When I went to go stay with my grandmother, my nanny, the one that my mom's whole side of the family is from England. I think I've said that before on here. But I went to go stay with her for a while. I was bad kid, man. I got more stories. But through all that trial and error, I found out who I really was as a man. And at least now I'm happier than I've ever been. At least emotionally and mentally fortified, you know. That's beside the subject though of this video, so. After Wendy's was Chipotle. After Chipotle was Walgreens. After Walgreens, I went over to, I don't know if you've heard of this grocery store, but it's called Save A Lot. They needed some saving. Maybe I just like to naturally help and fix things. Because it seems like every other job I've went to or accepted, they've either desperately needed the help or I've seen that they needed it. And that was always for more money, but I don't know, I guess I was a floater in some ways. Never really stayed in the same spot for quite a while. Walgreens and Food Lion were my longest committed jobs. 4 or 5 years at Walgreens and 6 years at Food Lion. It used to be called Arby's, but they were bought out by Food Lion, and everybody kept their jobs, so that was my coolest store manager. We went on a fishing trip one time. The whole deal, camping. He had his boat with the truck, and we went out. He let me drive it. Now I haven't driven a boat, I don't think ever, but it was one of the ones where it was a lever, and depending on if you raised or lowered it is how you steered. It was really simple once you got the hang of it, but I remember gunning it and the look on his face. It was so funny. But later on that night, you know, we were outside by the campfire, and for some reason it was really, really windy, and it was just whipping up everywhere. It was raining a little bit, but we were too plastered to really even care. We were just by the fire. And it was a cool experience to have, because, you know, some jobs are just that, a job. And some places, sometimes you can't really help but form relationships with people that you work with and friendships, and it was just a really cool experience to have outside of work. You know, we went fishing and it was cool. But I wanted to say though, he got so plastered, and the funny thing is, I don't drink like that. I smoke. He drinks. When he got up in the morning, he couldn't even sit up to roll up his sleeping bag. He was laid on his side and he was rolling it up like that. But he ended up leaving. He still blames me, but it was him, because later on that night we drove to the gas station to get some boiled peanuts, but he left the keys in the ignition. I can't talk. In the ignition overnight, and so of course the battery died. The next morning when we went to go leave, he tried to turn the car over, wouldn't start. Thank God there was this RV that was parked a little ways away. It was a Mercedes RV. I didn't even know that they made those. But thankfully he jumped us off, and we were on our merry way, but I'll never let him live that down. The fact that I don't even drink. And he was asking for song requests because I had this big boom box with me, like this JBL speaker. And then at one point, I think I played one of the old, it was the Eminem song with Akon, Smack That, all on the floor. This man was getting down, dancing. It was a good time. Unfortunately, I'm not going to be able to see him like that anymore. Not working at Food Line and such, but fingers crossed I get this job at Walmart. I'm trying to be positive about it, so we'll see. Anyway, that is really the video. Eating some great Spanish food and talking about work. And I hit the bowl again. God. Anyway, guys, I hope that you have a great rest of your day. I'm gonna go clean up here and probably clean the house. I got my baby coming over tonight. He'll be staying with me. He just turned 3 years old, but everybody's asking if that's really his age, because I guess he just looks bigger. Just got good genes, baby. Alright guys, take care.